And we're live.
Whoa, what's happening?
Hey, how's everything? So
Oh,
we're here
everything.
live. I am dialing in from the Washington, D.C. area. My name is Mike Goitein. I have my buddy here, Mr. Dennis. Dennis, where are you dialing in from?
Hello, yes, I live in Playa del Carmen in Mexico on the beach, and it's nice. I used to live in the mountains for a long time, and I lived all over the years, but I was in Vermont for 10 years, like a long time ago, many moons ago. And then I was in Colorado for 20 years, and then I've been here for like 5 years. I realized I don't like the snow anymore. And so I moved here like 5 years ago. I sold everything I own, moved to the beach, and that's it. That's what we're doing here. I was just up in Boston for like 5 days. Went to some baseball games, ate some really good food up in that area, and then hung out with my brother and my wife, and had a great time. Now we're back to business.
Nice. Back
Yeah.
to the grind, so to speak, on the beach, right?
Yes, yes, I know. Well, it's funny. I mean, like this is another great thing to talk about. Is like I think, and I just saw it this morning too. It was like we're constantly reminded of this now. Is like the old world. It really doesn't exist anymore. The way that like I'm 54. I don't know how old you are, but my guess we're in a similar bracket. And
Yeah,
yeah, like that whole world for the last really 150 years, it was like the school, the whole system that everybody lives in now. We're kind of in a transition, and it's kind of a strange place to be because we were trained to live in that world which doesn't exist anymore. And along those lines, I mean, we could talk about that as much as you want to, but along
sure.
those lines, when you say the grind, that's what made me think about it. It's like,
Yeah,
well, life doesn't have, it's not supposed to be such a grind. That life isn't supposed to be such a grind. So it's like when we have times, it's like, yeah, I live on the beach. I don't go to the beach every day. In fact, I haven't been in weeks. I haven't been to the beach. So when I lived in the mountains for my whole adult life too,
right.
and I didn't ski for the last 8 years I was there either. So it eventually it just becomes life, and it's not supposed to be such a grind. It's supposed to be, whatever you want it to be. But if you're struggling, then you're not doing it right. I think it's struggling extensively and like anxiety and depression. There's like if there's something's wrong, fix it. You know, and so yeah, my life is like I have a nice life. It took a while to get to this space. I mean, what's a nice life as a lot of people would define it? But there's it's just like I have problems. It's funny. Uh, People say, "Oh, it must be nice to live at the beach." Yeah, but just because I live here doesn't mean I don't have problems. I just chose to do my problems at the beach. You know,
I like
for
that.
Yeah, for years I did it my problems in the mountains. I did my human condition in the mountains for a long time. You know, that's how I describe it.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. It's a great take, and I love how you're kind of using where you are and your approach to life is kind of like a palette, and you're painting in a different way than other people. You're enlarging the frame of how you approach your life, and like kind of using it as a creative expression.
Yes, and that's a great point. And I'm pasting this uh link in some of our groups on the back end to see if anybody wants to join our live. Uh, Maybe we get more people there. But yes, yeah, so my story real quick is like real quick. I'll give you the 10-second version of a long
Sure.
story. I've been sober for 20 whatever years, 23 years. And that's part of my story. I was a mess when I was younger, and and it took a long time to like grow up. Drinking, not drinking or being sober. It's not about like not drinking. It's about growing up and looking the world in the eye. Building a life that makes you reasonably happy, like, and doing what you want to do. Like I just said, if something's not going well, change. Like if you're on the wrong road, get on a better road. You can do anything you want, and once you realize that, that's when life really, really gets great. And it usually takes some sort of pain and suffering to realize that
Right.
before before you start making those changes, but, uh, really, it's like, enjoy the ride. It's a fast ride. Like, I'm
It
54.
is.
I remember being 24, or I remember days of high school, like, they were, like, a few months ago, and it was, like,
Yeah.
36 years ago or something. It's, like, crazy. And so
And
you tell me about you. Like, we haven't met before, and I like having these candid conversations. In fact, I think, like, some of our planned conversation was to talk about, like, the humanness and, the uh, candid personalities that people actually connect with. People don't connect with all this AI stuff on an intimate level, and I think people are craving that. So tell me about you.
yeah, Dennis, I worked for 10 years in the hotel industry and sports. I managed tennis and sports programs in hotels around the world, traveled around extensively, and just some amazing places. I essentially, the last part of that, I went from Italy, spent a few years in Japan, and then moved back to Italy. And then from there, moved back to New York City in the 90s and started working right as sort of web technology was hitting. And I started off at the green screen, the command line, and I had just completely, like, I work with people. I was self-trained, but I was a Unix administrator. And if you could think of like the Matrix, like the green characters on the black screen, that was me. I was doing like heavy duty stuff for some large scale internet things that were happening in the late 90s, and then kind of shifted from all the way on the back end, and it was this migration towards the front end through the middle, and just kind of going from being the person doing this stuff to then the person kind of saying, well, what's the value we're delivering with this? And that's kind of where my newsletter and my focus has been for quite a long time. It's around that strategy piece. I mean, I think you can just do things intuitively, but if you're intentional with a few key choices, it makes a big difference in how effective you can be. And that's really why I like to lean in that area for anybody who's read Product Strategy Decoded. And I'm just very excited about the direction that's been going. And then that's just like a frame, like I said, that has been going. I combined strategy and tennis in one of the early websites that was out there. And I can share that image from that old website. And I had an illustrator from Italy do the all the graphic work and the design. It's kind of fun. But it's just been a thing for me for a long time. So all of the work that I do, and I was in journalism, it's all been around writing, expression, strategy, and those kind of three pieces coming together. And then a lot of hands on work to deliver through that first internet age, through the crash. I remember that one. That was a big one, 2001 in that time. And I was actually on the site, Dennis, of 9/11. I came out of the 4 train in downtown Manhattan and saw both towers ablaze. I was there on the day, and the second plane had just hit, and it was it was like something out of a Hieronymus Bosch painting. Like people, there's just dust everywhere and people crying, and it's just nobody knew what was going on. And I went to my office, and there was, for the most part, people are like, okay, let's huddle up, let's figure out what to do. And there were a couple of people in the office who were like, let's just close the windows and continue working. And it's like, no, 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 guys, this is not one of those things. I don't know if you realize what's going on. And then, of course, the first tower fell, and we saw the ash fly down Fulton Ave. And I was like, okay, okay, now we're going to get a bunch of people and we're going to get out of here. And it took us a long time to come through the ash, Dennis, and get out on the other side. But it was a beautiful day, and we made it. And I ended up having to walk for 3.5 hours from downtown Manhattan, upper Manhattan. But everybody got home safe. And and our group was okay. But that had a big impact on me, and the fallout from that and the impact economically and emotionally to everybody who was there on the day. It was really quite something.
Interesting. Yeah, I grew up in New Jersey originally, and I had some people that were affected. One died, the one I went to high school with, but
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
but that's very interesting. I didn't know that, but yeah, events like that, those traumatic events, they change you, like it or not. So that's a really interesting story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's the stuff people are gonna connect with, you know, that type of those types of experiences, which is yeah, it's weird that it takes some like those types of heavy experiences in order to make an impact, but that's what people connect with. Interesting. Well, I'm sorry you had to go through that. Yeah, and it's funny you said, like, the people trying to, like, close the curtains and ignore what's happening, and I remember I was talking to my mother I was in Colorado, on that
Yeah.
day, and, I was talking to my mother who was in New Jersey, and I said she said to me, I think it was when the 2nd plane hit, and she just said, "The world's never gonna be the same again." She had that insight, she said that, and I was like, "Wow," you know, I didn't think, but, you know, if you think back, I mean, it's been long enough now, well, 25 years now this year, that
Yeah.
a lot of there's a huge population of adults now who weren't here for that, and the world was different before that. Like, I was traveling this week, like, all the security and stuff, it wasn't like that before. Like, all these the security machines, I was just flying this weekend, so going through it all again, like, I travel a lot too, and, all the mayhem it takes to get on a plane, it wasn't like that. You used to be able to go buy a ticket. If there was room on a plane, you buy a ticket and you hop on the plane. Now it's like, you have
Cash
to
at the counter, Dennis.
yeah,
Here's my money, a few $100 bills.
yeah, and that's what it was like, and people don't realize the world was completely different, and it's completely different in every aspect now. There's, like,
It's true.
we could seg into the business stuff, if you wanted to.
Yeah, of
Of
course.
course, this is fun to talk about too. It's like everything changes and it never stops changing. And I think I write about this pretty frequently is like the ones who make it to the top, they're not always necessarily the smartest or you know, quote unquote better than anybody else. They just adapt to change the quickest, right? They
Yeah.
don't resist it as much. Like if you look at something like Uber. What was Uber? So what Uber did was they took an old broken business model. You don't need to recreate the wheel. So they had like a whiteboard meeting and they said, all right, what's everything that everybody hates about taxi cabs? So they smell, they're too expensive, they take too long to get there, the drivers are rude, blah, blah, blah. And they
Yeah.
created a business around everything that was bad in the existing business model. So they took 100-year-old business model that was broken and they fixed it.
Yeah.
And they were met with resistance. So the taxi companies, what they did was they spent billions of dollars fighting change
Yeah.
and they lost. And all they had to do, they already owned fleets of cars, like
Yeah.
millions of
Yeah.
cars. All they had to do was embrace change, revamp their business model, and they would have stayed competitive or maybe
Yeah.
even won. But
Yeah.
instead, they spent billions of dollars and tons of time fighting, and then they all lost. So,
Yeah.
I mean, stop resisting change, go with change. That's how you get to the top.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you remember, like when I was first dating my wife back in, I want to say 2007, I remember we would go out on the Lower East Side and we would come back, and it was like, if you could find a cab, which was very uncertain. And then, like, I very clearly remember one cab ride. I looked down and I could see the road through a hole in the bottom of the cab. I was like, this can't be safe. And then the cab is like veering all over the place and it's smelly. And then, you had to have cash. It was the only reason to go to an ATM was to get cash to pay for cabs in New York City at the time. And it was just, and then how much do you get? Do you give a tip? It's like rancorous. Then you give a tip and they give you a sideways look and they get angry. And it's like the whole thing was just, and so exactly to your point, but I will say that it Uber came at that time with the rise of mobile technology, app building technology, mapping, GPS, all of those pieces came together in a very powerful way that allowed an app like Uber to be built, and in it I would have to say it is like the killer app. It definitely, it's the biggest need solved in the simplest, cleanest way, the way you've clearly expressed.
Yeah, and that's what it takes. I mean, why is Bezos one of the richest in the world? This guy started selling used books because he saw the
Yeah.
rise of the popularity of the internet. Right, it was growing
Yeah.
by I think 3,000% or something. He's like, "Whoa, I need to get in on this." So he started selling. He didn't open. When was it? In 1990, whatever year that was. He didn't start. Cloud computing. That wasn't a thing. He started
Yeah.
selling used books,
Yeah.
and it took off. And now he's going to put the United States Postal Service out of business. Same thing. So the technology lined up with the opportunity. And that's where we are right now. I mean, there's so much technology and opportunity. And you can we're I have a friend on here, John Bruton. If you don't know John,
Yeah.
he's awesome.
John lives down the street from me here in the
Oh, that's
DC
right.
area.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
What's
he always
happening, John?
his whole thing is like we are all businesses. And it's so
Yeah.
true. Or companies. I forget how he says it, but I love that. And it's like we're all companies right now. You can do the
Yeah.
work. Like there's billion-dollar companies like Telegram. Uh, I don't know the value. I think there are 15, 20 billion a year or something, and there's like
Yeah.
16 employees. I don't think there's 20 employees. Like
Yeah.
that's where we are right now with a good idea, some good hard work, and the right guidance. You can build a billion-dollar company. And it used to be marketing or hearsay to say something like that was a little excessive. But if you're willing to put in the effort and you have a good idea, you could do it. You could build anything you want and move to the beach or the mountains or do whatever you want. You just have to take a step in the right direction and realize that, first you have to know. I always start when I work with people. Um, I have a marketing company. I do a lot of marketing, branding, stuff like that. But I used to do a lot of coaching, and whenever I work with some really high level executive people, but I also
Hmm.
work with early stage solopreneurs, and we all start in the same place, and that
Right.
is everybody writes a business plan. You need to have a
Right.
business. It never goes according to plan, but you need to have one. It's
Right.
like what's my mission statement? What are my goals? What is my marketing strategy, what is this, my finances, all that stuff. You need to be
Yeah.
honest with yourself so you know where you're going, what you have, and where you can go. But
Yeah.
you also need to do that with your life. Like, write a business plan for your life. What's your vision? What's your mission? What is it you want to do? What are your values? Right? So it's like if you here's who you are,
Right.
and here's who you are, here's where you want to go. Right?
Right.
And the problem is a lot of people know where they are, they know where they wanna go, but they don't know what their values are. And so they're trying to get to their goal, which is usually money, without being in alignment with their values, right?
Right.
So whatever it is you're trying to do, you have to find out, like, who you are. Does it align with who you are? And that's why the old I mean, life model of, like, working in a corporate suit, sitting in a cubicle, sitting in traffic to get there, and that whole life, it doesn't work anymore because and it never really worked. It worked 100 years ago for factory workers. There was no other work. So you had to do that to survive, to live in this system that we were building. But now it's like you have millions of people sitting in a cubicle going to work to a job that isn't in alignment with who they are. And now because of that, they overeat, they're getting drunk, they're taking Xanax or whatever it is in order to cope with their life, in order to continue to do that to make money and get health insurance, which costs too much. So it's kind of a mess right now. So you have to find out who you are, who you really are. You have to do that work and be like, what do I love to do? And then start getting your life in alignment with that. And then you won't have to do all those other things to escape your life.
Yeah, I love that. And this brings back the theme that we talked about a little bit at the top, which is, I facetiously made the statement back to the grind at the beach, right?
Yeah.
And I think whatever you do, if you do it in alignment with your values, right? Like I work in a very corporate job in one of the top 20 banks in the country. And I work in some nuances around, we have a design team. Every single experience that you see that comes from KeyBank is done by this phenomenal, unbelievably talented group of designers. And that means the desktop web experience and the mobile apps for Android and iOS and everything. And so I'm the guy who kind of helps put the tools in place that they use. And there's a specific tool called Figma. But there's a lot on the side. Like they have the creativity and they also have the pressure because they have to come through with phenomenal design. But like it's my thing to work with procurement and security, access controls, and all of these things. And my goal is to shield these brilliant designers from all of that noise and to be the person who's on the front lines of that. And I absolutely love what I do. I was more on the technology side for a while, on the product side, and now I'm here in this design part of it. And I went to San Fran last week to the Figma Config conference, and just like thousands and thousands of brilliant designers all came together at the Moscone Center, which is made famous by all those incredible Apple keynotes. But it was just really riveting to be there and be part of that energy. But I absolutely love what I do. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And it's like, no, this is great. Like, we're hanging out with people that are smart and talented and creative. And like it, it's not about like, can I survive to Friday? It's like, how many great, awesome things can we do during this period together? And what can we accomplish as a team?
Well, what you said is the most important thing that you just said, and that was really interesting because I didn't know these things about you, and that's awesome. Everything that you do and say and just said was awesome. But the
Thanks,
most
man.
important thing that you said was that you love what you do. And if you can't say that, that's the problem. Like, that's the problem. It's not like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I drink too much. That's the my wife sucks," or, like, "My relationship sucks," or "The president sucks." It's, do you love what you do? When you wake up in the morning, uh, and you're laying under the covers with the sheets like this, and you're just, like, afraid to get out of bed, that
Yeah.
means that you're not doing the right things. That's what that means, and, I think a lot of people, and it's not a quick fix, like, there's responsibilities to take care of, maybe you have a family, there's, like, and that's why it's such a problem that it is right now, is because there are a lot of people are dug in so deep, but you have to start doing something, because nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you're
Yeah.
laying there and your whole life is just like, such a grind, you have to do something different, just one little thing in order to change that. And then eventually, because you have to think it took, I always say about like sobriety, it's like 100 miles into the woods and it's 100 miles back out, right? It's like,
I
but,
love that.
but the good news is
It's so
that
true.
the 100 miles out of the woods doesn't have to take as long or be as painful as the trip into the woods. So I might have screwed up 20 years of my life with drugs, alcohol, the wrong relationship, the mistakes I made, like all these things. But you could fix them in like relatively quick period of time. But it does take longer than a day or a week or a month to undo 20 years of the problem wherever you are. And so, weight loss is a great example. It's like, "Oh, I stopped exercising 20 years ago. I've been eating shitty food and not doing anything for a long time, but now I'm going on vacation and I wanna lose 50 pounds next week." And now so I have one good meal and I'm like, "What happened? I'm not losing weight." Now I'm depressed and I hate myself, so I'm gonna eat more ice cream. So, we don't have the right infrastructure in place to make the changes that we want to, and then we quit.
Yeah.
And so, just not quitting will get you pretty close to the life that you're looking for.
Yeah, and I think part and parcel of that, Dennis, it's something you touched on, is not looking for the quick, easy fix.
Yeah.
It's like anything that you can do is going to be done with consistency, effort, and quite frankly, some boredom and some pain. And it's not being afraid of that boredom and pain, but kind of pushing through that and realizing that making some small smart choices on a daily basis, on a regular basis, right? Whether it's lifting heavy or eating clean, anything like that, they'll get you to where you need you to go. Like you said, it's not going to happen. You lift weights once. It's like, oh, I hurt my back. I'm not doing it again. But it's like, no, you just lifted too heavy too soon. Have good form, get somebody to help you, like do the things and do them regularly and don't hope for overnight success. And and I think that'll take you to where you need to go. But that comes back to the strategy. Are you making a few solid choices and doing them consistently.
Yeah, that's a great point. And then like something I like listening to real people talk, like successful people or whatever you want. Like I'm quote unquote successful. It sounds like you are. And it's great to talk to you. So it's great to hear the truth behind whatever it is that you seek. Right. So we don't see that and or project that into our brain. So when you're looking at Instagram, you see the highlight reel of somebody who you consider like whoever your success hero is, whether it's money or fame or whatever. And you're like, wow, their lives must be perfect. It's not. That's why I said I just chose to do my problems at the beach. And I got in a fight with my wife a few days ago. And, we went to Boston this last weekend to visit my brother for 5 days. And, remember, we all have the same 24 hours. So, you know, one day we went to a Yankees Red Sox game. We did that too. We went to 2 games. And then you take pictures of that and we put that, she does that, puts on Facebook, Instagram, does all of her stuff. Be like, wow, you must have the most exciting life in the world, 24 hours a day. No, that was the game. The other 20 hours, like, we slept for 8 hours, we sat around, we talked, like, "How's life going?" It wasn't, like, exciting, like, amazing stuff. We went to the Olympics a couple years ago, we do all these, like, exciting things, but in between that, it's like, there's, like, health things to take care of, there's money things to take care of, there's life, there's boring conversations, there's, like, oh, just human stuff. So I like how you
Yeah.
said there's boredom that goes along with, success, and even, like, if you have the right product, the right service, the right business model and everything, a lot of that, like, you get that set up, and then I had a friend years ago, he goes, "I'm busy." People don't understand entrepreneurs, and it took me a while too because I had a chef background, and so as a chef you go to work. Let's say I go to work. I have a night shift, so uh, I get there at 2. You prep for 3 hours. Service starts at 5 or whatever, and then you work for 5 hours, and then you clean up, and then you go home. Work is done, right? It's like there's 8 hours or whatever, and you can see the results along the way. I do this, there's an outcome. I do this, there's an outcome right away. So I cook this, I put it on the plate, it goes out. That job is done. Entrepreneurship is not like that, or most business stuff outside of like a blue collar job, plumber, electrician, chef, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you don't see immediate results.
No.
You're just doing things over and over and over and over again, and eventually things get to this place where it looks like they work. But I think that's a misconception. People have the wrong idea of what it takes to really be like quote unquote successful.
Yeah, I mean, there's that old joke, right? It's like, I didn't wanna have the 40-hour work week anymore, so I left my job, and now I work all the time.
80 hour, yeah.
Yeah,
Entrepreneurs
or
are a strange.
120, yeah.
Yeah, we give up working 40 hours a week and a paycheck to working 80 hours a week and no guarantee of any money at all, ever.
Yeah.
I think that's a big problem now with this internet business too, because then I have a group of people, the Elite Leaders Network. It's gone through different stages over the years, but we used to have meetings every week, and I used to see these ads. It's like make 6 figures a month working in your underwear, laying in bed 1 hour a day on your phone, and
Yeah, yeah,
buy that shit. And I used to take those ads and copy them and put them in the group and be like,
yeah,
look, this is what we don't want. It's actually a business model and people pay, you know, 10 you sent me the work notes like with Hormozy.
yeah,
It's like it is
yeah,
it's a business model he did too. And it was like
yeah.
you can spend $10,000 a month on ads. And if you make $11,000, you made a profit. And people do that. They run these ads. They set up these some sort of product or course or whatever. You run
Yeah.
$10,000 a month in ads. It's a very high risk strategy, but it does work if you do that. But that's where having values comes in. Like you don't want to rip people off and scam people along the way. And
Yeah.
a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the picks and shovels. approach, right? Like the people who made all the money in the 1849 gold rush were not the people digging for gold. And I think it's the same thing here. We have technically going on right now the AI gold rush. The people are like starting new internet businesses by and large are going to fail. I think it's what is it like 3% or something are going to be successful. Maybe it's a little higher than that, a little lower, but it's the
Not much.
people who sell people people sell those picks and shovels are going to that's where the business is. And so like guaranteeing somebody a six-figure income by sitting in your underwear on your phone. I think actually there was a brief moment where it was Facebook Marketplace. Was that? Does anybody there was like Facebook Marketplace or something like that came up, and Facebook had a loophole where people could create these like storefronts or these experiences, and they were just raking in huge amounts of money with very little effort. So that was a small window. But then, of course, back at the team over there, Mark Zuckerberg and his team, they said, "Oh, we can't have people making this much money this easily." That all just like kind of raking it all in. And I clearly remember I took an Uber and my Uber driver was like, "Yeah, up until last week, we were having incredible money. Now I have to drive my Tesla is now my Uber that I'm
Yeah. You know what's
because
funny? That you say that because I drove for Uber like 10 years when it first started. I guess it was like it's been over 10 years now. I don't remember 12, 13 years ago. And
nice,
I so I had a business, a rare coin business that did really well, and then I left that business in 2011. And I was kind of sitting on I had investments and I had this money and gold and silver and stuff. And I was trying to figure out what are we doing next. And so I Uber was just coming out and they were paying. It's funny you say it, they were paying if you refer somebody, you get $1,000, and if they do a ride, then you get another. They get $1,000, and there was all these bonuses because they were trying to grow the business and get
yep,
drivers there. And yeah,
yep,
we were making sometimes $5,000 a week, and not driving too much, and then they
yep,
had the surge pricing and everything. So that went up for, like, actually a few months, and it was really crazy, and I did drive a I drove a lot for a few months, and then it was like then they changed all the models, and I don't know how they do it anymore. It's not worth it. I don't know how they do it because it beats your car to the
yeah,
ground, but
yeah, it
for them, it works. Now the whole AI thing, people talking about the AI bubble. The the bubble I mean, this is my opinion. Everybody has their opinions about things.
sure,
Uh, about about it is like is the big thing is like sinking so much into any type of AI project now, unless you're Google or OpenAI or Anthropic, is like it's a huge risk because AI, the way we're using it now, which is basically LLMs for most people.
yep,
There's some no code agent stuff going on, but for the most part, it's really LLMs. But the way we are going to AI that we use in 5 years is not
yeah,
going to look anything like what we're doing right now. And we don't know what it's going to look like. And neither do
yeah,
they.
it's true.
But they have a billions of dollars to back out of any mistakes they make now. And we don't. So you need to be really discerning about any AI projects. I mean, like, the AI gurus or experts, like, do you know it takes years to really become a real expert in anything, and AI's been around for 3 years. So,
Yeah,
I mean, expert I don't know, it's just like you gotta be discerning about any real heavy approach that you take into I'm not saying don't take risk and build something that you think is, a good idea or aligns with who you are or something you're passionate about, like, definitely do that,
right,
but just be careful, along the
yeah,
way. Like, AI is not going anywhere. If anything, it's gonna take over a lot of what we do, but, uh, just be smart about using your time and resources.
yeah. No, that's a great call out. One of the things, and I think this is a big topic for our conversation is I had gone to this museum exhibit, and Laurie Anderson, if anybody knows that name, she's a musician, artist, and she was also famous for being together with Lou Reed for many years. In fact, I did get to sit next to them on Valentine's Day in a restaurant in Lower New York, Lower Manhattan. It's kind of interesting to see them just sitting out with all the other Valentine's Day couples having dinner. But Laurie Anderson has this installation at the Hirshhorn Gallery here in DC. And there's this big quote written in a rough, like white, splotchy letters. It says, if you think technology is going to solve all your problems, you don't understand technology and you don't understand your problems. And I think like it just absolutely blew my mind. It's like literally in black and white right in front of my face. And it's just totally blew my mind. And I just want to throw that statement out there. And for the folks who are on the chat, just kind of your thoughts. And Dennis, obviously, you're a very philosophical and deep person. You've gone through, the gauntlet, run the gauntlet, and come back and have the stories to tell. And you're in a great position to put things in context. So I just wanted to throw that statement out there and just see how it resonates with you and what it means for you.
Yeah, well, the human part, I think, is um, it's such an important topic to connect with for every single person right now. And it's funny, right before I hopped on the call, I was on with my sister, and we were talking about she runs a martial arts studio, and they do
Oh,
really well.
cool.
Yeah, they do really well. They're in Colorado, and but we were talking about like the website and her stuff. Like we're gonna help her do some stuff. But the whole idea of a website, it depends on the business you're in. But this whole idea of like building these like $50,000 websites, which we used to do. I used to do as a company. In fact, we built one a few years ago, which now you can build for like $500. You know, and I mean, we did one. This one particular one was beyond that, but for the most part, like a website. If you 20 years ago, if you had a website or some sort of technology, a chatbot, like some sort of technology in your business, that's what set you apart as a business. And now, 20 years later, what sets you apart is having a human connection. So if you can find like everything is so AI automated, microwave,
Yeah.
everything. That's where we're living right now, and it's
Yeah.
actually making everybody sick. And people don't realize it. I realize it. This whole like when you see Facebook started this like however many years ago, the little red
Yeah.
dot, Facebook
Yeah.
Messenger, and that little red dot is science. Right?
Yeah.
And so when it used to be you have a message. So when you
Yeah.
look on your phone, you see the red dot, you're like,
Yeah.
somebody loves me, right?
Yeah.
And it flips
Yeah.
off the dopamine sensors in your brain. And what we do, and we don't realize it, now every website you look at, there's red dots everywhere all day long. There's like you have a message, somebody looked at you, somebody liked your thing, commented, reposted, all these things. So we're like literally dogs in an experiment, dopamine dogs, all day long. We're literally rats in an experiment looking for
Yeah.
more dopamine.
Yep.
And we're sick. And while you're doing it, you're not conscious and aware. You're eating stupid shit. Your relationships are suffering, your health is suffering, your physical and emotional health. And we need to disconnect and we need to reconnect with humans. And we need to do it in nature too. We need to get out of the house, off the screen, put your
Yeah.
toes in the sand, the dirt, the mud, the mountains, the lake, whatever, and go outside and watch in a short period of time how your problems lose their impact that they have on your life. And so I think that really the path moving forward when we talk about, since it was kind of an AI conversation, is finding a way to be as human as possible right now. Because, right, we all need to use the technology. I use it every day in so many different uh, forms, but we need to find a way to use it to connect with as many people as possible on a human level. That's what we're doing right now with this live. There's a lot of AI uh, business, this and that,
Yeah.
people, you can have faceless accounts that are making millions of dollars on YouTube
Yeah.
or Instagram. But getting on a live, if you can walk your talk, if you can talk about what you write about intelligently in front of people, that's how you build trust. And that's how you're human in an AI world. And that's what's going to separate the the ones that make it in the future, unless you're like an enterprise level company. If you're not, then you have to find a way to be human. That's what personal brands are. That's what we're doing here on Substack, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. Like, build a personal brand that people know, like, and trust. And inside of that, it's like, oh, you do business stuff too. Oh, you know, they may or may not need your stuff, but maybe their brother or roommate or somebody else does. And since they know, like, and trust you, because you're not just an AI image on a profile picture, you're gonna get the phone call moving forward.
That's absolutely correct. I mean, it really is about connection, storytelling, taste, and judgment. And these are things that, you know, AI can do a reasonable facsimile of, but it can't really do it. And we don't want it to do it. It's there to do other things. It was a big takeaway for me at the Figma conference last week. For the best presentations at the conference, AI is there and it's part of our infrastructure, much as we might have a coworker or an intern or somebody running out something for you. Of course, it's there. The world has changed, but it's not 20 minutes of talking just about AI. It's like, well, what are we going to do with it? How are we going to use our unique taste, judgment, discernment? And so just putting that in context and using it appropriately, I think makes a big difference. And I'm sure you know people who they won't comment on a post, they won't text you without running it through ChatGPT first, right? It's like you can tell it's just not it's not genuine. It's not real. And I just hope that this would be a very positive kind of quote unquote, because there is some kind of correction that's going to happen with regard to the AI boom. And it's just, I hope that's what comes out of it. It's like, yes, it's there, like electricity or cloud computing or any one of these technologies, it submerges and you use it and you step on it to go where you need to go, not to take away your individuality or your personality. And that ties into the thing. It's like if you think that AI is going to solve all your problems, you don't understand AI and you don't understand your problems. And so it's like don't rely on it. Like still be a person, show up and do what you have to do.
Yeah, there's basic principles in business that always exist, and it's really about relationships. So, before the world shut down in 2020, like, I used to do a lot of in-person networking, and it's funny, the importance of relationship building. It's never going to go away. Now, there are certain business models. Let's say you're selling cups or bottles or, coffee cups, eyeglasses, whatever it is. If you have some sort of transactional product, and these are business models, and I'm not saying it's bad, but if you're selling cups and you have a 50-cent profit margin on these, you don't want to talk to people. You want to set up a business model, a website that takes care of business, and you want to ship as many cups around the world, drop ship them as possible. You don't need to talk to people at that level, right? At the $10, $20 level. If you're starting to get into bigger business purchases and stuff like that, that's different. But if you're like us on a lower level, if you're some sort of coach, consultant, or have an agency or whatever, and you're charging thousands of dollars per month for some sort of service, you need to talk to people. People are it's not a transactional thing. So, but when I used to do a lot of in-person networking, I have a great story about this. So I met with I used to go to, it was called Master Networks, which is kind of like BNI. And every week you go and you meet every like Tuesday morning, you meet with the same group of people, 10, 20, 30, 50 people. Now, the idea of networking, and this is important, if anybody's listening who's like in a consultant space, this is really important to listen to. It's like, uh, the idea of networking is you go to a meeting and the idea isn't to necessarily sell your shit to any of these 10, 20, or 50 people. The idea is to get to know these people, to set up one-on-one meetings with them like this, to go out to lunch. We used to go to Top Golf. We used to go bowling and do all these things. And what you do is you built a relationship. And once you do, then you have 10, 20, or 50 people out selling for you. And it takes time to do that. That's the value of networking. Now, with that in mind, the biggest networking group on the planet is LinkedIn. The biggest professional network on the planet is LinkedIn. So if you're not like if you're just using LinkedIn to write AI content, generate some infographics and posts and get likes and stuff, you're going to struggle. If you
Yeah,
have some sort of agency where you're trying to get thousands of dollars per month, what you need to do is build relationships, set up one-on-one meetings. It's a long game. And you kind of talked about that earlier. It's a long game. The
it is. Yeah,
sales cycle, if somebody gets online looking for a cup, they knew they were looking for a cup. But if you're doing outreach or if you're on LinkedIn and it's like, you know, I think you and I connected because um, we found each other interesting. And you're like, oh,
yeah,
well, let's do a live meeting or let's get to know each other. Now we have a relationship and you can't automate that. You can't automate it. And if you're trying to sell some sort of, 3,000, 10,000, $20,000 a month service with automation, you might get lucky with a few, but it's not a business model. It's not a sustainable business model. And to prove this, in 2017, I met with this girl and I was in Colorado. Her name was Stacy. And we went out to lunch a couple times from networking. I was in another relationship at the time, but so it was just as friends, as networking partners. She was a bookkeeper, a small business bookkeeper. And, um, I think we were in that same group for, like, maybe 3 or 4 months, and then I didn't hear from her again until, uh, I think it was 3 years ago now, so it was, like, 2023, I think, maybe 24, I forget,
yeah.
and she called me up out of nowhere after 6 years. 6 years. I haven't talked to her, or she sent me a message. She goes, "Are you still doing
Okay.
business consulting?" I'm like, "Of
Wow.
course. That's what I do." She goes, "I have a client I want you to talk to." And it was this guy in Castle Rock in Colorado where I was living, and, he had a dog training company that was growing too fast. He didn't know what to do, and he signed up for, like, $25,000 worth of services after
Wow.
6 years because I built that relationship through personal connection. And that's what people like. Like, if so she had a client who she was doing bookkeeping and accounting for,
Yeah.
and he needed help with growth. She's not gonna get online and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna look for a growth coach for him." She's gonna be like, "Who do
Right.
I know? Who do I know, like, and trust? Oh, Dennis. I went out to lunch with Dennis and built a relationship." And that's how your business goes. And if you keep filling the pipeline like that, eventually, you start getting more those happen more often. And now all of a sudden you have your 6 or 7 figure business. That's how it works. Like, every once in
Yeah.
a while on Instagram, you'll see some kid who sells an app for $1 billion and got lucky, but it's either 1, it's a lie, or 2, it's an extreme outlier, and you can't base your results or your actions, activity on that highlight reel, So this is how you do it the right way. Now with AI shortcuts, I shouldn't say shortcuts. AI makes some of these processes more efficient, uh, but the principle is still the same. You need to build relationships, and you need to have a good model that you have to continually change and adapt to and move along the way. And for a long time, most overnight success stories take 2,000 nights, which is 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, that's fantastic. And I would say that for people out there who are listening who are in that mindset of I don't have enough followers, I don't have enough likes on my posts, I think the answer is really not to try and do more viral things, but to write those things that you have the expertise and the capability and the things you know really well, get that information out there and get out through comments and through direct messaging and build relationships. And that is really where the magic happens. And the people who are the most successful, exactly to your point, Dennis, in your story, like you develop relationships and you're genuine and you're like a real person and you're clear about what you do, what you don't do, but like you develop these relationships and then like other people then become your greatest sort of advocate. And it's like, oh yeah, I know a guy who does stuff with like, strategy or OKRs or product or whatever. And that's how these things move forward. So it's not by shouting every day like, "Oh, I'm the smartest, I know the most, and look at this stuff, and it's so contrarian, and everybody has to like read my stuff." It's no develop. I think if you have like a 5-to-1 direct messaging to posting, I think that's really where the magic happens in building relationships through direct messaging and having conversations like this, Dennis.
Yeah, and start that's the other thing, you just have to take action, like, we were one of the things I do, because I do have a big following, but I've been also working on it for 10 years,
Yeah,
so it didn't just happen overnight, um, but I do, like, paid partnerships, so I have, like, companies that'll pay us, my team, to write content and do things like that. That's part of the my my business model. But, so we were changing the strategy. Yeah, I had somebody doing it. I had to let them go and hire a new thing. The point is, um, that all the thinking in the world won't move the needle 1 inch or 1 centimeter wherever you are listening to this. It's like, you have to start, do something, probably fail or make a mistake and go, "Oh, let's change this and do this instead." And it's in the doing that the results come, and usually not in the time frame you're looking for. This is why I try to emphasize to people, don't go quit your job. You have to finance your dreams. You need to have a paycheck or some sort of income coming to yeah, to build whatever it is you wanna build. Like, if you wanna write a book, write a book. I don't think that's the best use of your time right now, but if you want to, there's too many books now. So, but if you wanna do that, if you wanna start a business, if you wanna be a coach or consultant, like, do those things, do them on the side, start doing some of these things that we're talking about here, and then, uh, you have to finance those things. Like, it costs money to make money. Like, it costs a lot less than it used to get visibility, and you can do it for free, if you're resourceful, but you still have to put in the time and effort with no pay. Like, it's really unlikely that you're gonna make, you know, even 4 figures a month off the out of the starting gate,
right,
and so you need to, like, be responsible about doing this, um, and ask for help. I've done so many hundreds of these shows, and I always, at the end of every podcast or interview or whatever, they always say, "Dennis, you have any advice um, for those that are starting out?" And it's always the same 2 things. One is never lose your sense of wonder, right? Always stay a beginner. Have a beginner's mind. In the mind of an expert, there's no possibilities. But in a beginner's mind, the whole world is infinite. Like, you could do anything you want. But if you know everything, you can't learn anything new. And the other thing is ask for help. That's the most important thing. If you don't know how to go somewhere, ask for help. Now, there's a stereotype for those in our age bracket. Well, remember, but for kids under whatever, 20, we didn't always have Google Maps or Waze or whatever your GPS is. We had to like read a map or find a way to get where we're going or stop and ask for help. And the stereotype was that men didn't like to stop and ask for help. But I always stopped and asked for help. I was like, that's stupid. I would rather look like stupid for 2 minutes and get there in 5 minutes than drive around like an idiot for an hour, lost and wasting gas, and I would rather just get there. So, if you don't know how to do something, ask, and that's a cool thing about AI is you can ask AI just about anything now, but make sure you're doing that. But if you're not getting the answer, or if you're somebody, which in my opinion is all of us, who needs that human connection, ask somebody for help. Like, I mentor a lot of people, um, who ask. I don't say no too often. I'm really busy now, so I can't like take on another like 20 mentors, but mentees. But when people ask for help, I love helping. If you find value in something I'm doing, I want to help you get there. And that's also part of life. People struggle with what's my purpose in life. Our purpose is to be of service somehow. It's like to help each other. And if we all did that, the world would run a lot more smoothly than it is right now. I also don't think it's as bad as Facebook and Instagram says it is. The world's actually it's not as awful. Turn off the terrible, awful news. But um, but get out and connect with people. Help somebody. The best way. I think it was Warren Buffett. Is that the best way to get where you want to go is to help somebody else get where they want to go.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Thinking about the situation in the country right now, I saw a clip on YouTube from Bill Maher, and people, I don't know what they think of Bill Maher. And this was a very interesting clip because there is sometimes some negativity, as you quoted. That's what sells, that's what the algorithm promotes. Um, but what was great about this clip was that Bill Maher was showing people coming in from around the world and their impressions of America. Like the first fan to go in an air conditioned soccer stadium, the first fan like from somewhere and like tasting barbecue or going to a Costco or like one of these giant mega supermarkets and seeing the world through their eyes. Like it's actually not that bad. And people are very aware of what we have. And I think this is kind of where we started the call as well. It's like, are we aware of and grateful for what we have, even if there is some part of repetition or boredom involved? Can we express gratitude for what we have and take all of it together?
Yeah, it starts in the morning. I think first of all, there's awareness around it. I think the first thing um, that we need to do is be aware. You can't fix a problem you don't know exists. And I think there's a lot of people that are just stuck on in the cycle of life, which is actually what's causing all these problems. The food, the social media. The biggest problem in the world right now is short form video. It's the biggest problem in the world. Like you can get stuck on that. And like, if you were to look at some of my content in some places, you'll see I share a lot of like viral videos and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
what I do is I'll tell people, like, if you're looking for content, like I say, go on Instagram or TikTok and you can find viral videos in your niche, whatever it is you're trying to do. But I say set a timer, 20 minutes. Like go on, say I'm looking for innovation, AI, business, whatever your leadership, whatever your topic is, and look for some videos, 20 minutes. If you don't set that timer, 4 hours later, you're like watching giraffes play with kittens and you're like, what just happened to my
Yeah,
life? And that's what happened.
exactly.
We wake up in the morning, you're spending average, I think it's like 5 to 6 hours a day on your phone. That's just
Yeah.
your phone. And then there's another 6 hours on your laptop or your computer, and then wrap it up with 4 hours on Netflix. And it's like that's life right now. And life is not happening on the screen. It's actually happening outside. And if you stay stuck in that screen, the world's falling apart. This politician said this or did this, and they're killing people, and they're racist, and they're this and that. And like you, you have to turn that off because outside, we were in Europe last month. We were in Boston, New York. We travel quite a bit,
Nice.
and it's a beautiful world out
It
there.
is.
Are there
There's a lot to
problems?
appreciate.
Absolutely. Are there stupid people? Absolutely. It's never going to change. It's never going to change. And you could choose to be part of the beautiful part, or the awful, terrible, disgusting part. Like you're by continuing to do that, you're choosing to be part of the awful part of it. If you this is what I said earlier on. It's like take off your shoes, go outside, put your feet in the grass, the sand, the dirt, go for a hike, do something you love to do. Not that you don't if all you're doing is things that you need to do or that you have to do or that you have to force yourself to do, that's struggle. And then you have a life where you struggle. But if you do things that you enjoy, at least some of the time, you're going to connect with that more. You'll end up going down that path more often, and all of a sudden, you're having a nice life. And if you keep struggling through life, you're going to have a struggling life. That's how it works. And so it's hard. I don't think a lot of people are aware of it right now. And there's the the world's divided because they want you divided. They know
Yeah.
exactly what's going on right now.
It sells eyeballs. It's,
Absolutely. Every single thing we do is a path to marketing, and I
yeah,
love talking about those, and I don't
yeah.
know, are you enjoying the conversation?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so and we don't realize it, so
Yeah,
every single thing you do, whether you're watching
yep,
sports or CNN or Fox News or whatever you're doing, it's all a path to marketing. Everything that
yep,
we do is a path to marketing. And most people don't realize it. You could be watching a sitcom or anything. So if you're
yep,
watching in terms of uh, politics, is you're either watching Fox or CNN based on your opinions, which are just not really informed. You think they are, but they're not. But what they are is it's all marketing. So they know who you are, where you live, where your kids go to school, how much money you make, and what your political views are. So they create stories, not news stories. Because let's go back first to, when we were growing up 40 years ago or whatever, 50 years ago, there was the 5 o'clock news.
yep.
That was it.
Film at
So,
11.
yeah, so 5 o'clock news, you come home, the dad comes home, you sit around, you talk, you watch the news. There was about 5 minutes of news, maybe 10. It was like a big event. Then there was weather and sports. And then that was it. 25 minutes later, the news was over. And then you sit down
Yeah,
and have dinner and you talk about your day with the family.
yeah,
That was life. Now, here's the thing. There's still only 5 minutes of news,
yeah,
maybe 10, maybe 15 minutes of news. But now there's 24-hour news channels. So they
yeah,
need to fill those up. So they take the same 5, 10, 20 minutes of news and they make dramatic shows out of these news stories. And then
yeah,
so you sit down and you watch this news story. And then again, they know who you are, how you feel, where your kids go to school, what gets you charged up. So they create news stories around those things. And right when you're all fired up, they break to a commercial that's going to help you feel better, like a high interest rate credit card, or go on vacation, or a new BMW, or McDonald's, or Doritos, or Budweiser. Right? They know what's going to make you feel better. So it's all a path to marketing. And I know
yeah,
because I do this for a living. I do
yeah.
marketing for a living. I know you don't sell a product, you sell the emotion, you sell the feelings, right? That's what
Well,
well,
Well, think about how wrestling has changed since back in the day, right? Like it used to be a show about wrestling and colorful figures, and then, but there was a lot of wrestling. And now, Dennis, like think of wrestling as like very little actual wrestling. It's all like the personalities and the story and the backstory. And this person said that thing, and what about that? And it's so funny how all of it is sort of the build up to it, and creating these loops and then paying off these loops and developing drama, and that's what has catapulted wrestling into like the forefront of the conversation in a lot of places in this country.
yeah, and the thing about wrestling, I don't you mean like WWF or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah.
Not
Like
like
I don't watch
NCAA, but
yeah, but I know it's all about it's a story.
yeah,
Like I don't have to get into the religion stuff, but it's like,
yeah,
years ago, 2,000 years ago, they were making all
yeah,
these religions, and there's like
yeah,
they could be like, don't kill, don't steal, don't rape people, don't do all
yeah,
these bad things.
Yeah.
That's great. But if I tell you that we're resilient by nature, now hopefully you have enough values to not kill people and do those things. But if I put it in a story that you could put yourself into that story with the messaging, then I mean, this is ancient principle. They've known this for thousands of years. Now
Yeah.
you're gonna be like, yeah, and you're gonna get emotionally involved with the story, and that's how you're gonna learn the lessons. And that's what they're doing. That's what they do on news,
It
on
is.
ESPN. The
Yeah.
same thing.
All of it.
There's
Yeah.
there's only, like, how many games? There's, like right now is baseball season. It's
Well, that's
not
a lot of
football.
games.
Yeah, but
Baseball and basketball, a lot of 100 plus, yeah, a lot of games.
yeah,
But
but
yeah.
they don't talk about the game. What they do is they
Yeah.
say, "Well, the trade deadline's coming up. Do you think that
Yeah.
this team should do this, or do you think that's a mistake?" They don't talk about the game. They say,
Yeah.
"Do you think this is a mistake?" So
The
if you're like,
backstory.
yeah, if
Yeah.
you're watching this, now you're emotionally involved because I have an
Yeah.
opinion about it. And so I'm gonna continue watching it, and I'm gonna tune in tomorrow to see it, like, what everybody else thinks about it. That's
Yeah.
all this is, and they know it too. Like,
Yeah. It's
they
all
know
marketing.
it's all marketing, everything. So if
Yeah.
you don't pull your head out of this and
Yeah.
go do something that truly makes you happy, then you keep going down the rabbit hole and you get deeper and deeper, and now you need to go eat something or drink something or take Xanax or feel
Your
better.
GLP-1s.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's
Yeah.
where we are, right? That's where
Yeah.
we are right now. And
Yeah.
if you don't
Absolutely.
turn it off, you're gonna be there. And that's where the world is right now. It's
Yeah.
breaking families up. It's dividing families
Yeah.
over these opinions.
Yeah. I've heard it said, Dennis, that if you're not paying for it, you're the product. Like, so it's like and exactly like you say, the amount of data that they have on us and everything. And if you do it and go in eyes open and you enjoy it for entertainment, but you can put the device down and go on with your life and have relationships, then you'll be okay. But let's wrap up in the next minute or so. And what I'd like to have you do, and obviously you have a big following, a lot of folks reading your newsletter on a regular basis, but just uh, a few final words and just where folks can find you for folks that may not be familiar with your fantastic thought leadership across the board. Just share how to find you and some fine parting words.
Yeah, so we do a lot of work on LinkedIn, which is where I basically started all of my little online life world. And so that's a great place. My newsletter, which is at dennisberry.com, you could sign up for my newsletter. On Substack, which is where we are now, you can see it at Dennis Berry or the Elite Leaders. I also have a finance newsletter, the Investors newsletter, because we also do like financial education. We're like Jimmy, Jimmy Buffett, Warren Buffett, disciples, value investing, um, and real fundamental investing uh, education. So, those are the main things, but, drop me a note, say hello. I always love talking to people, guiding people, helping people if I can, if you find value in what I do. Or if you just wanna say hi, please do that too. And it's been awesome talking with you. We should do it again sometime, and, if you want to.
Absolutely, Dennis. I will bring. I will bring. I'll bring the iced tea, and we'll sit down and have a nice conversation.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, like, it took us a couple weeks to actually or I think, like, a month to actually pull this off, and I was sick for a little while, and which was awful, and then I was traveling, but, yeah, we can, let's get together and chat again sometime, and we can actually promote it more and get some more people here. I didn't have my brain in the game, but I'm glad that we met and got to talk because 'cause you're a real nice guy, and I enjoy talking with you.
Likewise, Dennis. I again, you know, uh, followed you for a while, and your stuff is great. And I'm glad I can bring you to my audience, our audience, everybody here on Substack. michaelgoitein.substack.com. You can find me, DM me, DM Dennis, reach out to us. We're just people here on the platform, just having a conversation. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a great one. Make it a great one. Bye.
Yeah. Adios.